Silicon Valley, technology, art, green, and sustainability.
Welcome to another episode of Silicon Valley Tech, Art, Green, and Sustainability. So today we have a really interesting topic, and I'm going to read something here that I found on either the Department of Energy or Energy California's site. Our current electric grid was built in the 1890s and improved upon as technology advanced throughout the decades. Today it consists of more than 9,200 electric generated units with more than 1 million megawatts of generating capacity, connecting to more than 300,000 miles of transmission lines. That brings us to the clean tech topic of smart grids. And today I'm very honored to have both Sonita and Christine, returning guests, with me, and experts in your field and amazing women and done a lot of things in your career. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Sonita, could we start with you and have you give us a little background on you and who you are, and then we'll move to you, Christine.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me here, Heather. A pleasure. So I have been in the technology industry for almost 15 years and in clean tech for the last 6 years. So I first got interested in clean tech when I was doing my graduate studies actually at MIT and Kellogg. Prior to graduate schools, I spent a few years as a technology entrepreneur, including co-founding my own online game company. But then, as I was looking through career opportunities after graduate school, I wanted to work in an area where you're contributing something more to society rather than just selling a product. And as such, clean tech was an industry that really meets that criteria. So I spent a few years at PG&E. I was involved in their leadership program, involved with their smart programs, various carbon and renewable programs, and also smart grid initiatives. And then after PG&E, I moved to a few startups, and most recently I'm at Trilliant as their head of corporate marketing. And Trilliant is a smart grid communications company.
Well, you have such a great background. I did not know you went to MIT. Very, very smart cookie. So thank you for joining us. And returning guest, thank you. And you have so many more books now that you're going to have to share with the audience.
Well, Heather, I've been busy since I was last here, and it's a joy to be back again and spending a little more time with you. So thanks for having me on your program.
Yes.
Yes, I have been busy working on the Smart Grid Dictionary, and I've also written a couple of other books since then. And did you want a little of my background?
Yeah, a little
as well?
on your. Now I know your background, and you've been a guest before, but for people that maybe didn't see that show, or
Sure. Well, I have a long career in telecommunications. I worked in hardware and software, and a few years ago, I too was looking to make a transition into a cleaner tech type of role, and I found the smart grid to be an excellent career transition point for me, and really not too much of a transition, since 50% of what the smart grid is all about communications technology. So in the course of me doing my own research to educate myself about the smart grid, that's how I came about writing the Smart Grid Dictionary, which is now available here, and it's also been translated into Chinese, which
that is
was
amazing.
recently made available in the People's Republic of China.
That's really great. And so this was just published in China, and it's your first edition there.
Yes.
So you'll probably have a different edition.
In a couple of years, let's say, because I still do update my dictionary on an annual basis, because there's a lot of change going on in the industry, and it certainly is reflected in the addition of acronyms and terminology.
So now the smart grid and what the smart grid is. Now I know like a little teeny bit. I probably know more than your average person because in the area we've done some filming before, and actually we should have put some of the clips in from your event this year, and I apologize for that. We'll do something with that soon. But smart grid, let's pull up the first slide here. What it is, what it's connected to. It's connected to a lot of things. Here's the first slide. I mean, that's just, it's so complex, and we can pull that down. Can you tell us a little bit, Smart Grid 101, a little bit about it? Either one of you want to
Why
Sure,
don't
I
you
can.
start?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can start. I think smart grid is really the layering of intelligence across our whole energy value chain, from generation to transmission to distribution to the meter where the demand is, which is our homes and businesses, to beyond the meters, which is inside our homes and businesses, and all the way to distributed energy resources such as solar panels, electric vehicles, and smart appliances. Traditionally, our energy infrastructure, the energy flow has always been one way only. So energy is being generated in the supply and then being pushed one way to the demand. With the advent of smart grid, there will be two-way communications between the supply and the demand, and there will be more visibility and control and the balance between the supply and demand of energy, resulting in better energy efficiency, better reliability, and the ability to integrate more renewable energy resources. That's really kind of like how I view the smart grid.
It's a lot. Let's bring up another slide here. You had a slide that was really great, and this was from you. Tell us a little bit about this.
Sure. So I actually read somewhere that, according to the National Academy of Engineering, the electric grid is the single greatest achievement of engineering of the 20th century. And actually Neil Armstrong once said, if anything shines an example of how engineering can change the world, the power that we use in our homes and buildings are certainly it.
So this slide here was showing cars, it was showing it's off the screen now.
So I guess what I'm going next is that yet this greatest achievement of the 20th century hasn't been modernized to be able to face the challenges of the 21st century, which range from constrained generation to increasing demands to the proliferation of more distributed energy resources.
So society's facing all these challenges, and that's what the slide was kind of about, is all those complex challenges that the smart grid is going to give us.
And if I can just add one thing about in terms of the smart grid, in addition to the communications becoming a bidirectional flow of information, there's also the potential for a bidirectional flow of electrons as well. And the grid, as it currently exists, is really a machined grid, or grid 1.0. But grid 2.0 has the ability to be something that we could consider perhaps in a more organic fashion, where we actually, as consumers, can become prosumers and produce electricity to flow upstream back to the utility.
So when you put solar on your rooftop, whether it's a commercial or residential building, that extra energy that you're not using can go back into the grid.
That is the potential that can be done. Now, of course, there's quite a lot of business model and policy that has to be changed in order to make that happen. But that is where the technology potential is today.
Let's pull up this other slide, and this has to do with visibility and control that you also put together, and I love this slide. We put that in. Tell us a little bit about this slide here that's on screen.
Yeah, I think this slide actually depicts very beautifully what Christine and I were just discussing about the bidirectional of information and also electrons, how things can go from the grid out to the demand, but also the demand can put energy back onto the grid.
So, okay, question for you. Since it was like late 2000, I think December 2009, or maybe January 2010 that you came on the show, has the landscape of smart grid changed and some of the advances? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it certainly has changed. It's grown. Since then, we've had a couple of years of the federal stimulus program, ARA, in play. So we have
You call it ARA?
American Recovery. I forget what
A Recovery
Act.
Recovery Act.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm missing an R there, but the smart meter rollout, to a certain extent, has been stimulated by the federal funds that have been distributed to investor-owned utilities, municipals, and to co-ops. There are many more players. There have been many more companies, and especially in Silicon Valley, we've seen a real upwelling of startup companies that have focuses in home energy management systems and cybersecurity and several other areas, including gaming and gamification of energy management to appeal to consumers. So utilities have been investing quite a lot of their money in distribution part of the grid, from the substations down to the meters, and of course consumers are starting to get a little bit more interested as well and making more investments in solutions that give them awareness of their energy consumption.
Interesting. Okay. So let's bring another slide up here, I think, and it relates to this topic right now. It's, yes, I think this is it here. This looks at all the different countries and the dollar amount spent. It slide's a little bit older, since 2010. A little hard to read, so we'll put that. You can take that down. We'll put that up on the website.